York's Metropolitan Opera. No matter where you come from, when you sing here, you have arrived. This is a dress rehearsal for Rossini's Barber of Seville. Singing the role of Figaro, 36-year-old Thomas Hampson of Spokane, Washington.
It seems how logical to me that if they're going to
totally logical.
leave the house, they take the ladder, wouldn't they?
The New York Times says the baritone seems to command the International Opera stage. But Tom Hampson didn't always command the International Opera stage. Folks back in Eastern Washington remember where he got his start and his stardom, and they know it was not overnight.
Oh, give me a land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please, don't fence me in.
Though he was born in Indiana, Walter Thomas Hampson grew up in Eastern Washington, in the Tri-Cities, and in Walla Walla, where his sister, Linda Emerson, still lives and works at Walla Walla College.
Well, first of all, we all sang at home, and we all played the piano, which 2 out of 3 of us hated, and you know, we played other instruments as well. So the idea of him being involved in music in high school was not an idea that was foreign to himself or foreign to the family. He was funny, and he was ornery, and he was bigger than life because he was always tall, and he was always large for his age, and he was sensitive and emotional as well as being boyish.
I think the voice is starting to come back.
Linda was instrumental in getting her brother to come back to Walla Walla for a humanities scholarship benefit concert.
Let's do the last one.
A concert he now rehearses for.
I'm red pepper in a shaker, bread that's waiting for the baker.
It isn't every day the local boy made good comes home. It's big news, and maybe a bit unnerving.
So how does it feel to be back?
Great. Feels like every time else I come back. I love to come back to the Northwest, you know? I love spelling my name for TV crews. That's great.
Tom and his fiancée, Andrea Haberstein, know that this fame can be a dangerous thing if he becomes consumed by it. Linda knows that too.
He has, I think, a very healthy view of that. He says that his notoriety does provide him with opportunities to do the kinds of things that he loves to do. It doesn't seem to me that it's terribly important to his ego or to his core.
Hi.
It's a perspective he shares with students at a Walla Walla College vocal performance class.
Good morning.
It'd be worth waiting for.
All right, I don't know. Maybe it's important for you to hear that, you know, when I was in college, I went to Eastern Washington University as a political science major. I wanted to become a lawyer and maybe go into diplomatic service or something like that. Very silly boy. It is more important to learn about your humanity, meaning you as a human being, than it is to learn about triads and chords and even vocal technique.
And perhaps equally important, to get to know the hall you'll be performing in that night.
Immer klingen, doch meine Saiten tönen, nur Liebe immer klingen. How's the balance? Now I feel like I can start needle pointing in this hall. I feel more part of this hall. Yeah. It's a very funny feeling. You have to find it, you know. Now I feel like I can make it sing with me.
Regardless, even Tom Hampson still gets nervous before the show.
No, it makes no difference. This is Walla Walla in New York. It's time to do what it is that we do. Let's do it. John, let's go.
It doesn't matter where you are born. It doesn't matter where you grow up. You can make something of your life if you decide to do that.
But this baritone grew up here, began his education here, and is very much at home here. In the foothills of the Selkirk Mountains, 2,569 miles away from New York City, is where the Spokane River is born, in the icy streams that gather speed heading west. Spokane, Washington, where a young man looked inside and found a baritone. Wherever he goes, this is where Tom Hampson tells the world he's from.
What's special about this place is sort of the purity that most people would generalize as naivety.
Naivete that was written all over the face of the teenager that attended the Upper Columbia Academy in nearby Speical. Naivete that echoed through the choir lofts in places all over Spokane, like Plymouth Congregational Church on the city's South Hill.
Sang right in this loft. Was soloist, paid soloist.
Dr. Don Gilmore, the senior pastor at Plymouth, remembers when Tom sang here in 1976 and 77, when this recording was made.
The thing Tom was able to do was project a presence, a sense of competency. When he stood to sing, why, you know, there was a sense of he knew what he was about.
Yet back then, Hampson was blessed with far more talent than money.
He was telling me about his financial problems, and he wanted to know if there was any other job that he might be able to take hold of in the church. And I suggested that maybe he might be a youth advisor. And he said, that sounded good. So we walked out on 8th Street, stood underneath those maple trees, and I remember him saying, I know I can sing. I just need the chance.
He has such a commanding presence that once he made the stage, he commanded it.
Clara Koblick, now with public television in Spokane, worked for the Spokane Symphony in the late 70s and was in charge of publishing program books. One year, she needed someone to help sell advertising.
Oh, he was a perfect salesman.
A perfect salesman who was finally finding out who he was and what he could do.
He needed the study. He needed the experience. He knew that if he really observed, he could learn it all. And he was not about to be just an opera singer. That was not his goal. He wanted to be among the best.
It was a girls' college when I first came here.
But if you want to know where he really started wanting it, Tom Hampson will take you here to the old Fort Wright College campus on the city's north side.
This is where it was.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's fun. You know, I'm sitting here longer and longer. I mean, as I look around, I just remember that shelf was the same.
This is where the late Sister Marietta Coyle, his voice teacher at Fort Wright, showed him what was possible, what he had inside. Before he met her, he still entertained notions of going to law school. She was the one who told him that singing would clean your soul.
Oh, sure. Singing, recognizing my artistic talents and becoming a singer, becoming an artist has certainly cleaned my soul in the sense that it's the truest development of my psychology, as myself, and therefore my soul. This is exactly the same heater that we had then. I think it was there when Jesus was in short pants, as they say in the vernacular. The smell of this room is the same. It's amazing.
Why did you leave? Did you want to or have to?
Oh, I had to. You couldn't, you can't become a professional singer on a major level or get all of the information you need in Spokane, Washington. And she was very clear about that too. You know, there was no, you know, it was no different really than a parent sending their child off. You know, it was time to go.
Time to reveal to the world the baritone that was just now emerging, the one that could not be contained.
I'm bound away across the wide
I suppose everybody wants to play Old Home Week with Tom Hampson when you come to town, but I guess that's kind of our right with you coming back to Spokane.
Well,
It's certainly Vern Wyndham's right. Wyndham is Arts and Performance Director for KPBX Radio in Spokane. He was close enough to Hampson's talent to see it coming.
That was one of the big opportunities.
Wyndham taught Tom Hampson a music class back in the late 70s at Fort Wright College and found Hampson a quick study.
By then, he had one foot out the door. He was busy. He was getting successful. He probably came to class about 2/3 of the time because he was otherwise very, very busy performing and touring and traveling. And yet, he was so quick. He was one of these people that I always treasure in a student that can understand the fact and the concept simultaneously.
But earlier than that, back in 1973, Wyndham and Hampson were roommates on a Spokane Symphony children's concert tour of the state.
And he could very much sing the pop and semi-pop songs in front of the orchestra and really keep the kids riveted on him. And that wasn't always an easy task, of course.
And while that was almost 20 years ago, his performances are still riveting. Now, whenever this world-famous baritone comes home, his name on the Spokane Opera House marquee virtually guarantees a sellout.
Let's do it.
One doesn't really expect anyone one knows to get that famous, to become one of the people that they'll be studying about in history books 100 years from now. And I don't think that's hyperbole to say that.
Ja, ich meine, ist überhaupt nicht gefunden. Das Problem ist ein bisschen kompliziert, indem dass es nicht nur Kleider ist. Es ist leider sehr wichtige Dokumente drin.
With all the world traveling Tom Hampson does, it's amazing he doesn't lose more luggage. That's what he's trying to track down now.
I mean, it's really a very serious problem.
He and Andrea spend part of the year at their home in Vienna and part of it here in New York.
I am not from around here.
And he's not the least bit concerned that he looks like a tourist.
I'm from Spokane, Washington.
But he is concerned about staying in shape for his demanding schedule, a schedule that has him booked for some halls at least 2 years in advance, a schedule that has him singing a recital tonight at Lincoln Center. The New York Times would rave about this performance, saying that Mr. Hampson's voice is full and steady and moves easily from range to range. It would now appear that Tom Hampson has it all, fame and the opportunity to make it grow.
Dwelt a maid beloved and cherished by high and low, till with autumn leaf she perished,
there's a little bit of guilt, you know. Have I truly lived up to what it is that we tried to start here, you know? I feel pretty good about that. I think I can look myself in the mirror and say, yeah.
Because he has taken his talent and rode it like a wave as it rumbles to the sea and to the world.
Rock country and flowing water.
Still, Tom Hampson has never forgotten where that stream became a river.
Bird and bee and blossom taught her love.